Hi everyone. Well, I've removed the two inlet valves from the head, and this is what you'll come across. So there's a housing that goes here. You'll probably have trouble getting these screws out. They're tight. Anyway, I got those out, and once you've got those out, then you're probably going to fight to get the housing off. The reason you may fight is that it's a snug fit down in here, because it is the bearing for the camshaft end. And that was, one end came off easily, the other end I really had to fight to get it, to get the housing off, and I didn't want to break the housing, so I had to use my soft hammer, so it took me quite a while to get that off. Anyway, once you got the housing off, you're going to see the end of the torsion bar. There's the torsion bar there, and on the end here you're going to have a little 10mm that you're going to have to take out. That 10mm, it's got a 6mm thread and it goes into here. Now it has got a little sleeve with it. You'll have to remove the sleeve with the bolt carefully. Now the way I did that is I used a 14mm open end spanner, and I put it over the end here of the torsion bar end and just lifted a whisker, and that takes the spring off the bar, so you can pull the collar or the sleeve out carefully with the bolt, and that'll come out. Once you've got that out, then you can just remove the torsion bar. That just comes straight out. I'm putting it back in again. The spline has got a certain position where there's a gap on the spline, so that lines up when you put it back in again later, so that should be straightforward. Okay, now the next thing is, this is what the valve looks like, because this piece here is the lifter, which goes on a spline here, and that keeps the valve closed. So that fork end there runs on the bottom of this collar here, and that keeps the valve up closed. So once you've got the collar, this collar just slides out easily. Once you've got the torsion bar removed, it's just a slide and fit. There's no bolts or anything to hold that in place. Once that comes out, then the valve will just drop down, and that's easy. Once the valve drops down, just give a little tap just on the edge of the collar here, just a little tap with the almost with your finger, and that'll slide down the valve, and that will then allow you to use your little magnet to remove the collets. So the collets will just sit just here. Hopefully that'll focus. There are two collets there, and they just sit back inside of that little collar. You can't lose anything, it just fits, it falls into a captive space, so that's easy enough. But use your torch and use your magnet and you'll be fine. The valve stem seal is quite different from what I've come across before. It's not like the other Hondas. You've got a little bit of rubber here. I'll just put it down here so we can see it. Okay, you've got the little rubber piece, which I'm getting with my rebuild kit. That's the rubber piece there. And then we got these little retainers which hold the valve stem seal in place. So there's a 10mm that holds that in place. Oh my gosh, that was tight. This engine hasn't been apart, guys, that's for sure. I really struggled. Everything was tight. These screws here were unbelievably tight to get off. And then, you know, if this had been apart before, I'm sure that these housings would have just slid off easy. When I put them back on, I'm going to use some anti-seize to stop them binding up in here in the future. Look, I'm so impressed with the valve condition. Probably not easy to see here with the camera, but I'm telling you, running my finger around on the edge and just observing both valves, very impressed with their seating. So let's just turn the head over a little bit. Okay, so here's the two inlet valves removed. I might just change the lighting around a bit. Let me just move it this way. There we go, it's a bit easier. So there are the two inlet valves removed. They're big size valves actually, and they only just fit in there. They just come up to the edge of the side of the combustion chamber there. Yeah, it's an interesting engine, that's for sure. The more I've read about this torsion bar valve retainer system, the more I can see that it was really a Honda idea actually. The Ducati system is quite different. Okay, this is a system that was designed if you like, for the CB450 Black Bomber, which I believe was actually in about 68, 69 that the Black Bomber actually came into running. And they carried it right through the CB450 range until it changed to the 550 to the 500 twin. Well, the 500 twin was out at the same time as the 450, but they discontinued this idea after this engine. This is the only engine that Honda have made with the torsion bar valve spring systems. So what I gather is a little bit like Honda. They try things out for a while and they stick with it for a while and then they just discontinue it. A little bit like on my X250 Honda that had the 23-inch front wheel. It was an idea that Honda had. They ran it for a few years and then they went back to a 21. And my gosh, did I have trouble getting a 23 tyre for that rim. It's things like that, but parts for this engine are very readily available, so no problem with that. All of my internals are in fantastic condition, so I'll be reusing all of these. I'll just give the valves a nice relapping, just sit them in again nicely. A bit of a valve grinding paste, nothing at all extreme. New valve stem seals, they look like a piece of cake to put on, and that comes with my rebuild kit. So far I'm very impressed with this engine. I noticed looking at the bore, it looked like there may have been some little scratch marks, but honestly guys, with my fingernail I can't feel anything at all. So anything that may be on that bore will definitely come away nicely with a light hone. My engine over here, it's a bit dark in that corner too. Have another look, and I haven't got my torch with me right now. So this is about the head. The only trouble I had was getting those housings off the ends, which are the housings for the, where the torsion bar is sitting. And the reason for that is that they seem to be seized into the aluminium head, but they are also the bearing ends for the camshaft. So thanks for viewing, and if you're working on the CB450, you'll be very familiar with all of these parts. If you're not, you might find this design that Honda ran only on the CB450 is an interesting idea. I've got to say, in some respects, it's so simple to work on, absolutely. Like getting this valve out, no need for any special valve compression tools like I would normally use. Just straight away slides out very easily, and to fit this later it's going to be a breeze as well. So although this engine was discontinued, if you like, and this system of valve spring didn't carry on in its day, I think it was quite fit for purpose, and this engine for its time, 40 odd horsepower, is pretty decent. I hear various sites here that the bike was a bit of a bit of a slow bike, but in its day, I think in those late 60s, early 70, 71, compared to the Triumphs and the maybe the BSAs, etc. at the time, which were mainly running push rods, I think some of those English bikes, this engine was actually pretty decent. But compared to maybe other Japanese bikes and the two-strokes, of course, it was probably hard to compare. Certainly the engineering that goes into this head is amazing, and probably another reason why Honda discontinued it. I would say the casting alone was so complicated, and the machining, etc., to get this in place, whereas a standard valve spring arrangement is a lot more compact and certainly easy for a 4-valve head. So for 4 valves per cylinder arrangement, all of those things, really this system just couldn't continue. It would have been just too difficult to engineer. So it had its day pretty much with this engine, as this generation of sort of came to an end, and the 2-valve heads really were surpassed by multi-valve heads, etc. But anyway, because I'm a fan of these old Hondas, for me that's perfect. I'm quite happy about that, and for what I'll intend to use this for, it's going to be fine. So I'll close this off at this stage, and I'll probably take the exhaust valves out later on and give those a good inspection, but there's really not much else I'm going to do on the head now until my kit arrives. Then I can give it all a good clean up, valve grind, and fit my new valve seals, etc. And I might give the outside of the head a bit of a polish up, but it just really needs a degrease, to be honest, guys. Thank you for viewing, and see you a little bit later on in another update. Bye for now.